Welcome everybody to the seasonal diet, eating what our ancestors ate when they ate it like we were evolved to do. Sugar. Which season, if any, is it okay to eat the most sugar? We all know sugar is bad, okay, linked to countless health problems, but of course, it's impossible to stay away from sugar completely these days, and it would have been impossible to stay away from sugar with ancient humans too. But how was their view on it, and which season did they eat it in the most? Well, the answer is simple: spring and summer. The first and easiest answer is in the summer because from the fruits. Very simple. Fruits grow in the summer and early spring. They have lots of sugar in them. Humans ate it. That's how they would have gotten their sugar. Exactly what kinds of fruit and which time exactly is a long subject for another video, but that's the first and simple answer why humans ate sugar in the summer. The second and much more interesting answer is in the late winter to early spring. Now, as you know, if you do live in a place where you have seasons, there are no fruits or vegetables growing around this time. Also, it would not make much sense to be eating a lot of meat at this time either. You had just been feasting on the animals most of the winter and spent resources to take care of the ones left. It doesn't make much sense to slaughter them for food right now with spring coming. And any vegetables or fruits that you had stored away would be starting to go bad right now, so those aren't an option either. Matter of fact, there's not a whole lot of food at all that our ancestors would have eaten at this time. Late winter, early spring, the only food available would have been the grains, sugars, among a couple other things in there too. These are the foods that are able to be preserved the longest after the harvest. Simple as that, that's the main reason. Now, as for the common store-bought sugar that we all know, whether it's crystallized or the brown sugar or powdered sugar, that stuff didn't make it into Europe until quite recently in history, which is why I really don't recommend sugar, especially for Europeans. But we had sugar before that for forever, really, in different forms like honey, and that are also different types of tree sap that were used. We don't have the maple syrup because that's from North America, but we had our own. In Scandinavia, for example, the birch tree sap was used in the diet, and that is really delicious. I recommend you try that if you get a chance. It's a bit hard to find, but these types of sugar things like the honeys and the saps, they have the same function as sugar in other parts of the world. They can be preserved by themselves, and they have a shelf life of very long, or even forever in honey's case. That never spoils pretty much. And these things can also be used to preserve other foods. Like jams and preserves are a big one, and we have records of honey being used to preserve fruit from thousands of years ago in ancient Greece, so we know that they did this. So absolutely, these would be the preferred foods in the late winter, early spring. Not to mention all the mixes and recipes that they would make with these things. You know, combine everything that they had available at that time. The wheat, the sugars, the dairy, the eggs. You can get cakes and pastries, desserts, whatever. This is the time of year where a lot of these things would have been eaten. Okay, any nutritionist or medical professional is not going to like that very much, but you try living 1,000 years ago. Say it's February, your food stores are running low, and you have nothing new coming in until May, June time. I don't care how disciplined you are or how serious you take your diet today in modern times. If you were back 1,000 years ago, you'd eat that fucking cake, okay? It was the only thing available. So the late winter, early spring is actually the time when the humans had the least food supply, and they would have gotten a good chunk of their diet from sugars, grains, dairy, among other things in the smaller amounts.